Yes, as they are currently mid-series, and it looks like we are going to be jumping into it. It looks like, oh, what is happening?
MacSed is now on match point. He is up 2-1 in this best of 5 semifinals against Dark, the winner of the last 2 ESL Open Cups in a row. Widely considered to be perhaps the best, or at least one of the best Zerp players throughout Legacy of the Void. And now MacSed, he's got an advantage.
What is happening right now? The problem is that no one knows. No one was casting that series. No one knows what transpired between these two players. Has MacSed been being like overly aggressive and been really cheesy, or has he been really macro focused? Was Dark incredibly cheesy and aggressive because he was overconfident, which is something that he can do, and then just kind of lost games because of that? Like,
or did Dark have deliveries?
That's
never let you live that down, Patience.
Did he pull the patience and did someone knock on the door just so he GG'd out of the game? I don't know. It's possible.
It is possible. But how likely is that? About as likely as right now, spawning in onto Jagannatha LE. I just realized that it's in capital. No, every map is in capital. So no, never mind. In the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner of Jagannatha LE. We have the red Zerg player, currently down in the series 1-2. If he loses this one map, that is it. He is out of the tournament. The winner of the past 2 ESL Open Cup Asias, we have representing. Wait, he's not representing it anymore, is he? Well, okay. As long as he has this name in game, he is going to be representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming DPG. We have Dark.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha LE. And, you know, if you're in the chat and if you're watching and you're like, hold on, did Light mess up? Did he put the wrong scores on? No, mate. MacSed, he is up 2-1 in this best of 5. The Chinese Protoss player representing Invictus Gaming. It is MacSed.
Invictus really ought to look into changing their abbreviation so it's 3 letters instead of 2.
All right. IG?
Like IPG. I mean, yeah, actually, sure. IG. I mean, that's still pretty good. Not quite in line with these newer teams coming out from China.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you were mentioning it earlier. We did hear last week that Dark wasn't on DPG, but we got no confirmation. You know, on Wikipedia, there has been no announcement. So for all intents and purposes, he is on DPG.
All right. I mean, we could just phone him up.
We could. But you know what? If we did, then he would forfeit the game and he would leave.
He would be like, "Oh, I got a phone call. I have to leave."
Yeah. The pause function is not here. So yeah, again,
I might pause, but who knows how long it's going to take.
Exactly. And for the people wondering, unfortunately, there was no one casting Dark versus MacSed, so there wasn't an English stream, there wasn't a Korean stream or a German stream. We were all covering Trapped versus Solar, and I mean, to be fair, I don't blame the casters. I don't like. Again, Trap versus Solar is like the closer series. When you see MacSed versus Dark on paper, it's like, yo, Dark 3-0, right? Like, MacSed, he's not really a name that you would, you know, put up there as a favorite against some of these Korean players.
Yeah, little did we know we were in store for a MacSed 3-1. Potentially,
right? Like, we've just been looking from afar, all these scores. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you want to see MacSed. He took out Special earlier, surprisingly. Like, a lot of these players have been doing well. Nice, like, he was able to take out Armani. Again, really unexpected results. And now we're finally in a game with him. We're going to be able to see MacSed. What has he been doing? How has he been taking out these players?
How has he been taking out these players? How has he been taking these maps? This is a best of 3. He'd have won already. He'd have made it to the finals.
He would have won. This would have been it. And it's not like Dark doesn't take these seriously. You were talking about it earlier. Dark, he has won the last 2 ESL Open Cup Asias. Like, Dark, he takes this very seriously. It's all he can focus on. Like, he's not a part of GSL anymore. Like, he's not in the round. He wasn't in the round of 4. He's not in the round of 2. You know, he's not in the finals. So yeah, Dark, like, this is what he has to focus on. And I mean, for good reason. Like, there's a pretty big prize pool in these weeklies.
Yeah. It also helps that there's not, too much to occupy him for the rest of the year. We're just waiting for Super Tournament to get announced. But other than that,
Hmm.
don't think there's really much for the Korean pros outside of online tournaments.
Yeah, whether it's these or even like the Chinese team league, the Gold Team Championship, like it's finished, like it's done, like that's also over for the year. Oh my god.
Yeah, that it is. He's gonna lose this Oracle. He does, but not before taking out 3 drones. Okay, so not unrecoverable damage here from Dark.
Yeah, honestly, that was really rough, losing an Oracle for 3 drones. Like, sure, you get some damage, but it's so much more valuable to keep that Oracle alive for revelations, for stasis wards, for whatever you can, right? To help defend your base from all those Ling run-bys. And if it was solar, there'd be Lings on top of this third.
Exactly, but Dark is a bit of a different breed here. And yeah, I guess we did see earlier today, how Patience, how Trap, how those 2 were really able to utilize those Oracles, even though they weren't able to get much harassment done. Dark gonna be playing a bit more of a classic Ling Bane style here, but a very aggressive one with that +1 melee.
Yeah, I was about to say, mates, so far, no lair. He just has hatcheries. He is getting +1 melee and that Baneliness. I'm waiting for the moment because he's getting a 4th base. This like favors this style because you need that extra larva. You need so much larva to make Ling Bane work. And I'm just so surprised how much he's delaying his lair, if he even wants a lair.
Yeah, not really gonna get Ling speed anytime soon.
Yeah, he's just, flooding Lings across the map. He's gonna have slow Banes because of it, and at the moment, he's just making nothing but Lings.
Indeed he is. Okay, 9 Banelings on the way, pretty close to MacSed's 3rd.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, he is gonna be finishing up his 6 more gateways, and I'm just curious to see what he makes from that.
Well,
right now, focusing a lot on the Zealots and Charge.
Yeah, and it looks like the Void Ray is able to spot this because essentially Dark is going for a big all-in. He's going for a massive Baneling bust. He cut worker production quite some time ago, and he's just making nothing but units, nothing but Lings, and he's going in.
Oh, can he split the Zealots? This is going to be the question. And he does bust right on top of his 3rd base, but a lot of the Banelings do go down for that. There are a couple of them still left, but the Void Ray decides to take it upon himself to clear that out. And MacSed, he's just sacking that 3rd base. He's just saying, you know what? I cannot save that. I'm going to be focusing on just living.
Yeah.
Defending against a swarm.
Exactly. And as soon as that happened, Dark, he throws down the Roach Warren, starts the lair, and starts droning up.
Yeah, it is so important here in the ZvP matchup. Once this gets revealed, this massive Ling Bane attack, the Protoss player knows, all right, I'm just going to hardcore turtle up. I'm going to tech up into my next phase, and then I'm going to have the better army. I'm just going to play it like Trap, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think something that's important is that because MacSed lost that Oracle earlier on, that did mean that he had very limited scouting information. He didn't realize that this big commitment to this Ling Bane was coming, and because of that, he didn't have enough at home to defend the 3rd base. And now he's going to be contained because look at how many Lings there are. There's no way MacSed is going to be able to expand.
Yeah, I mean, there's a decent amount of Archons, but they are stuck behind that wall. Oh, nice use of Warp Prism. And now MacSed is starting to be active on the map. Not sure how good of an idea that is, but it is only Lings at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, we do see Dark. He does have a decent Roach count, and it's so good that he was able to switch into Roaches. Again, these Lings are just waiting for the 3rd. They're like, yo, I dare you, try and expand.
They actually potentially go for natural base, but decides to take this seriously. Dark does sends him back home as he does see the push here from MacSed. Oh, there's a pretty good choke point to utilize, but the Lings do manage to snake on through, and they will get a complete surround. A lot of them are bleeding out, but the Roaches is still standing strong, and that is what the Archons really have to worry about.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like the majority of the army does get taken out. Meanwhile, the Archons do survive another massive warp in the main base of Dark, but it looks like enough time was bought with Dark. He does manage to get his Roaches into his main.
Yeah, I mean, we say massive, we mean relative to this phase of the game, and honestly, these charges are starting to thin out the Roaches a little bit, getting most of them into the red, but I don't think MacSed has much staying power. He needs to retreat. 1 Archon already going down. GG is called, and Dark, he will tie up the series. Sideways 2-2 we're getting an ace match.
We are getting that ace match. Dark, he was on top of those massive Ling run bys, keeping MacSed on 2 bases, forcing him into that 2-base all-in. And again, once it was shut down, that was it. GG was called.
GG was in fact called. And this, I think, is the story that we were expecting, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And it would still be a little bit of a surprise if MacSed, is able to take the ace game, or I think for a lot of people, just going up to the ace match for MacSed against Dark would also surprise a lot of other people. But
yeah, exactly. Like again, we haven't.
Outside. I got distracted.
We haven't really been able to see MacSed. We haven't really been able to see how he's been able to take these games. We've only seen one so far, and Dark was able to take that convincingly, really kind of like in control or like dictating the pace of that game. We'll see what happens here in the ace match. Again, like it's still quite scary for Dark. Like MacSed, he's still so close to making it all the way to the finals.
Indeed, he is. Probably the closest he's ever been, I should say. In these tournaments.
Yeah, 100%. We were talking about that when he got to the semis, right? Like the semis was a big accomplishment in and of itself, and now like potentially he can go all the way to the finals. As there are a couple of people asking about these ESL Cups. There are 3. There used to be 4. As there was one specifically for the Oceanic region. Of course, we casted it. You can catch the VODs on our channel. It was ESL Open Cup, fueled by Dare. It wasn't tied to the ESL Pro Tour though.
No, it was not. It didn't give any EPT points. Gave out. It did have a payout for the winner, but yeah, it was the only non-regional locked event. And as a consolation, or I guess not a consolation, more of a compromise for that, it did say, yeah, we're not going to give any EPT points. This is just to sort of give some monetary support to the players down under.
Yeah.
But now we are onto one of the 3 remaining ESL Pro Tour Open Cups, where spawning in on Romanticide LE in the bottom right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the red Zerg player. Coming out from the land of South Korea, he is going to be representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, DPG, looking to once again make it to the finals 3 weeks in a row. Can he do it, or will the upset be pulled? Let's find out. We have Dark.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Romanticide LE, we have the Chinese Protoss player, the yellow Protoss, currently, as you were saying, tied up 2-2 against Dark of all people. He has already made an incredibly deep run in this week's tournament, but he's looking to make an even deeper run all the way to the finals. Can he do it? It is MacSed.
Oh boy.
I'm just waiting to see what he's gonna do. I'm so curious. I'm like, how did he do it? What happened?
4-gate, let's go. 4-gate chargelet, let's go.
Like,
that's not the most effective build in
look,
in PvZ anymore.
This isn't Leo Russia, right? What are you on about? Like, calm down, buddy.
Fortress, let's go.
I was about to say, like, were there cannon rushes involved, like on some of these other maps? Like, were there some big all-ins? Like, I don't know. Like, what happened? Only these 2 players know.
Yeah, that they do. Well, at least until they submit the replays.
If they submit the replays. Good luck to the admins on that one. I know it can be a little bit difficult contacting players, especially like, typically after a tournament or after they get knocked out, they just log out. And it's like, well, how do I contact this player,
That's when you go onto Twitter and be like, yo, let me DM you, please.
Yeah, so we shall see. We shall see how this plays out. And yeah, okay. So we do have a Stargate opening coming out from MacSed.
All right, nothing too out of the ordinary here, which, again, I think we were expecting out of the ordinary, just based on the results so far.
Hmm.
But you know what? I can totally buy it at MacSed. Just won those two on on just like capitalizing on a mistake or two that Dark made.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I know that, we do have Dragon Soul talking about Dark's form this year, and I would have to agree, especially in the beginning of the year, people weren't really looking at Dark, they were looking at, more so Rogue or even DRG or Su at moments. But like, especially in these weekly tournaments, like we've seen Dark really shine, like he's won the last two, and not against easy opponents. Like he was able to take out Solar and Rogue in a ZvZ matchup, a matchup that he was never really considered to be the best at.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like it's kind of weird because in 2020, Dark is not the only best Zerg player in the world. I feel like when you think of Dark as this top Zerg player, you think of his 2016, you think of his 2019, where he was pretty much indisputably top Zerg player. Very few competition for that spot. Whereas in 2020, a lot of other Zerg players had their time to shine, right? You mentioned Su, you mentioned DRG, Sarah won a championship, Raynor won a championship, Rogue won a championship. Rogue actually won 2 championships. So it's like, Dark is just not used to sharing the spotlight.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
We're not used to sharing the spotlight.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say there's a lot more competition because obviously these players were active, back when Dark was winning, but as it's one of those things where you gotta, because there's so much competition, you have to be on top of your practice to make sure you're able to keep up with everyone else.
Well, I mean, less competition as in there was less dispute over who the top Zerg player was.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll see what happens in this series because Max said he's already doing something a little bit crazy, a little bit Paco Mike-esque. We saw this earlier, mate. He's throwing down 2 more Stargates.
Well, let's see if he can pull this out and make it in a better way than... Was it Trap that did this? No, it was Patience that did this. No, it was Trap that did this. No. It's all blending together for me, like all the protest players in this tournament.
I was also trying to see if you could suss it out. I believe it was when we casted Zaun versus Solar, right?
It was Zaun who did this.
Yes, it was.
Together in my head.
So Zaun did this where he threw down 2 Stargates, didn't throw down the Fleet Beacon with it, and he went mass Void Rays to start with. So we'll see what Dark's response is going to be. If you recall, this happened, I believe it was on Jagannatha, where it was Zaun versus Solar, and Solar just happened to go for a big Night Assault in, right? With all those queens.
That was the game. Yeah, that was a game with a lot of queens, with a lot of Spore Crawlers, which really did a good job of zoning out those Void Rays and pinned Zaun into a corner. So let's see if Dark is able to have that happen again. But if not, then yeah, we'll see.
Oh, and I don't like this. Okay, so Dark is throwing down a Spire. Spire, I feel like it's a little bit risky against triple Stargate. To be fair, Dark he's in the dark, right? He doesn't know the kind of tech, the kind of infrastructure that MacSed has, so he doesn't know that he needs something more like Hydras.
Yeah, I mean, if it's any constellation, he is getting +1 range, so yeah, will help the transition to Hydras be a little bit smoother. Dark does suspect something, but he is probably not suspecting 4 Void Rays getting on top of his extractor.
And now
Dark has to really take it seriously.
Yeah, this does get revealed. So now Dark, I'm really curious to see what he's going to make because, to be fair, Mutas in high enough numbers and, Void Rays in low enough numbers, Mutas can actually take this down. Obviously, you don't want Corruptors against Void Rays. That's kind of what Void Rays want to be fighting. So, yeah, we'll see what the anti-air of choice is going to be for Dark.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say that, maybe Dark should just commit to the Mutas and just try to, out macro and outpace MacSed in terms of their production, in terms of macro. But yeah, I definitely agree with you there. It's a lot better. It's probably a lot safer to go for those Hydras, and he's going Corruptors. He's going for the Corruptor site.
Oh, well, this is interesting. We'll see, because to be fair, MacSed, he has his Void Rays split up. They're not all together, so they are a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, can Dark target fire? Can he, group his Corruptors up well enough and then just start one-shotting these Void Rays one at a time? He's also got a lot of Queens out just to help with zoning. And that is something that Dark can fall back on with his Corruptors.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see what happens here. This is getting really weird because MacSed, so typically when you go like this committed into Void Rays, you expect your opponent to go into Hydras. So you just throw down a Templar Archives and you get Storm. Like Storm just finished up. He's getting Zealot Legs as well. So he's working on that counter to Hydras, which is what you would expect. But because Dark is going like Roach Queen Corruptor, like Storm isn't anywhere near as good, you know? Like these are some beefy units.
Yeah, I mean, at best, it can just sort of zone out the army, but I think it is, as you say, Corruptors can afford to stay in Storm for a bit longer than Hydras can.
Yeah, they be thick.
That they do. They have, what, twice the health of Hydra?
Yeah.
Over twice. That's 200.
They're also, like, you could argue a lot more mobile, right? Because you can just, like, you know, traverse over terrain and things of that nature.
But on the downside, they cannot shoot ground.
That's true, and we'll see as they are sharking around. And you know what? The Void Rays, they are split up. So they're vulnerable. They just go down.
Yeah, 4 of these already popping. Not a single Corruptor has gone down yet for Dark. And he's looking to try to see if he can Caustic Spray anything. Not quite given that opportunity thanks to the storms coming out from MacSed. But again, just getting a couple of Void Rays here and there. And I was going to say, this may be the time... I was gonna say this may be what prompts MacSed to transition out, but he's gonna be +1 attack for Skytoss.
He's not just getting that, he's got a Flea Beacon as well. He wanted to commit to the Skytoss, but now with every single Void Ray falling is the opportunity for these Corruptors to Caustic Spray down some of these Nexuses.
Yeah, and there are Stalkers out right now, and they're gonna try to get something done, but I feel like there's just enough DPS here on this Caustic Spray. Takes out a Nexus, should be able to take out another one. And it's going to be a while before MacSed is able to deal with these. You know, he doesn't have much anti-air left.
He's going to get all 3? The natural goes down. The main is going to go down. Is it? There are only a couple.
The main is looking to go down. There are only a couple of Stalkers. There we go. 3 Nexuses get sniped here for MacSed. And sure, he's still got a lot of probes left. But what's he going to do with them?
I'm in awe right now. Dark, he was pushed all the way to the ace match, but here in that ace match, he is dominating his opponent. 3 Nexuses went down. MacSed, he's down to 1 base economy, and now the 4th it's under threat.
It is under a lot of threat. Nice concave here with the Roaches. Yeah. And as you were mentioning earlier, you know, Roaches, they can afford to stand in Storm for longer.
What's
than
the Storm going to do? It's just tickling the Roaches right now. They don't even care. They're just pushing on forward, diving on top of the High Templar, forcing them to turn into Archons.
That they are, but already in a lot of trouble before they morph in. Dark really flexing his muscle here with his Roaches. Look at that supply difference. Dark is almost maxed out, and he's got a massive bank behind this.
Jesus Christ, he's pushing on forward, going to be taking out the rest of all these bases. More Caustic Spray being used, not allowing MacSed to retake his main, his natural. Meanwhile, MacSed, he's counterattacking with all he has, and that's 3 Archons. Mate, what are 3 Archons going to do against all these Roaches?
Not a whole lot, I can tell you. Well, they are kind of favored against the amount of Roaches that are here right now. But the reinforcements come in. Defender's advantage, always there for Dark. And they do get taken out. That Nexus was just rebuilt. GG is called. And I'm getting some massive deja vu over here, Light. For the 2nd week in a row, our finalists for ESL Open Cup Asia is going to be Solar and Dark.
Oh, GG. It's going to be a rematch to last week. Last week, of course, we had Dark versus Solar in the grand finals. And I'm going to be honest, if you remember, Dark was dominant in that finals. He was all over the place, all over Solar. But now Solar, he's had a week to process that loss, to process that series. And now he's going to want revenge.
He is looking for that revenge. And honestly, Solar, with preparation time, do not underestimate him.
Not at all. But of course, you know, I'm sure Dark has also been refining his skills as well. Maybe not as much. Again, like, he's kind of known for being that overconfident player. That's what a lot of people love about him. And yeah, again, we'll see what happens, what transpires in this ZvZ finals.